Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And May 5th is Cinco de Mayo. So I mean, we missed Mardi Gras, or at least I didn't take advantage of it. And there's so many flower festivals and things going on right now that I thought it would just be a shame for us not to make some fiesta wear, some festival wear. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make some earrings that are just off the charts festive. So I thought we would just do a few different types. I thought this would be nice. Just something like this. We're going to make our own frame, and then we're going to use some uh, polymer clay and make this cute little earring. It's very easy to do. And then we're going to I thought I'd use a prefab frame. We have these, I have these prefab frames and it's okay, but how do you make it your own? Well, you really can. So I just kind of went to town on this one. I mean, I have this frame here, and there's a lot you can do with it. I mean, look at all of those loops around the bottom. You can do all kinds of stuff. And then there's another little loop in the center. You can dangle something down. But I thought, let's go one step further. And I thought, why not wrap some beads along the side? So we're going to do that too. We're going to make this kind of chandelier type earring, or I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to wrap these beads around the side here, and then we're going to have a dangle down the center. We're just doing it all. Why not? And if we have time, I will show you how to make another earring. But for now, we're going to start with those two, see how it goes, and go from there. I have a plethora of things that we're going to be using today. We're going to use our usual tools. We're going to use our round nose pliers, square or chain nose pliers, cutters, a ruler, and I'm going to use this nice rubber mallet that I got from the dollar store. Just to do some pounding so that we can make our frame a little stronger. And I'm also using the handle as a shaping tool. So, I mean, you can use a mandrel. I'm using this as a mandrel, but when you're making earrings, you want to make sure that they're the same size. And if I don't have to mark something up, this is all the same size going up and down. So no matter where I wrap my wire on it, it's going to come out to the same size. And then you can shape it to whatever you want it to be. This started out as just a circle, and then I just shaped it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So it started without the beads on it. It looks like this. Just nice little frame. And then you do what you want with it after that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to make some ear wires. We're going to make some jump rings to attach everything. In addition to the tools and things that we're going to use, we're also going to use some head pins. I would make them, but I don't think we'll get through all of that. I don't want to scare you away with a hour-and-a-half video. We're going to use polymer clay for this, and that's what I use. So I was going to use polymer clay for that. We're going to use some crystals. I used some 4mm bicone crystals for this, and we'll see if we get to the third one. We're going to use 20 gauge wire and 24 gauge wire for our wrapping. And I think that's it. I think that's everything. So let's go ahead and get started and have some fun. Okay, so the first thing that I think I'm going to show you how to do is this earring right here. This one. I love this. So neat. So easy to make. So the first thing that I want to do, this particular one that I did, I used 4.5 inches of wire to get a finished frame that the length of is 1.5 inches, including the loop on the bottom. And I used 4.5 inches to get that. So that's what I've cut again. I've got my little 4.5 inches here, and it's I'm using bronze wire for that, bronze colored. And my polymer clay is 6 millimeter. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is take my wire, my 20 gauge wire, and I'm going to make this little loop at the bottom. Where's the one that doesn't have the beads on it so you can see what I'm doing? First thing I'm going to do is make this little loop that's at the bottom here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is find the center of my wire, which is about 4.5 inches. This would be 2.25. Got my center here. Take my round nose pliers, grasp that right in the center, just a very small distance from the tip, just enough to have an open loop. And I'm going to fold my wire over that tip. I'm going to bring it up and take a look. Now I can see this one is a little longer than that one. So I'm going to adjust it so that I can make the other one a little longer. And basically all I need to do, this one's longer, I need to take away from this side. So I'm going to scoop my pliers up a little bit on the wire and pull the other side until I get a longer piece on that side. Let's check it out and see if it still looks longer. Yeah, it does. So I'm going to go back in here. Just going to roll this down. I can use my pliers and pull it. So I'm just going to go down a little bit on this longer wire and pull the shorter wire. I'm just taking from one and giving to the other. It still looks a little bit bigger. One over here. It's better. It could still be a little closer. There we go. That's not too bad. Still a little bit longer, but that's okay. I can make adjustments at the top. That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to make my loop. So I'm going to go back in with the tip of my pliers, just slightly over from the tip, from the edge. And I'm going to cross the ends of my wire over each other until I have a loop. So there's my loop at the bottom. There we go. So there's my loop. You can see that. There we go. Okay, and now I want to make my little loops at the top. So there they are, they're going out. So I'm going to make a loop that's going away from center. So I want to just grab my wire, again, just a little distance from the tip of my pliers, because I need to be able to, if I'm going to dangle something down the center, and you don't have to, but if I'm going to dangle something down there, I need to be able to get a jump ring in there as well as my ear wire in there. So I want to make sure that it's big enough to accommodate both of those things. So I'm going to rotate my pliers until I have a loop that forms, and the loop is going away from the center. And I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Let's make a little loop. I'm going to check. Let's close that up. Check my loops. Make sure they look about the same size. They look good. And now I'm going to shape my wire. So I'm going to take my mandrel, what I'm using for a mandrel, and I'm going to slide my wire on it. It's like a little V right now. And I'm going to squeeze the open ends together like so. Now, when you're making an earring, you want to make sure that they match as much as you can get them to match. So I'm going to be checking every once in a while to see that everything looks pretty good. I can see that one of these is still a little higher than the other, a little longer. So I'm going to fold the rings together until they meet, like so. Then I'm going to cross them over so that they're extended beyond each other. The reason I do that is because when I let go, they're going to spring back, and I want them to come together. Now, once I've got that done, I can start shaping it the way I want it. I want it as close to this one as I can get. I'm just going to start shaping with my fingers. Now that I've got my primary shape there, I'm just going to start shaping it so that it looks as close to this one as possible. I can put it back on my mandrel if I want. And keep pushing it, pushing those two ends till it gets a little more rounded. And take it off and start making some little adjustments. Okay, just keep that up. Okay, this could be a little more rounded. Very close. Just a little bit more round. Just keep that going until it looks the way I want it to look. And this is really your own personal preference as to how you want it to end up. You can make it longer, shorter. You can make it fatter. I think I had another one that was even longer. It's entirely up to you how that finished shape ends up. We just wanted to use the mandrel to get it close to what we want. A little bit more. Let's put that back on there. See if I can get that even more round. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And you're just going to do this until you get the look that you're after. And one good thing about this 20 gauge wire, this artistic wire that we're using, is very malleable. And the more you work with it, the more it stiffens up and gets solid. So right now it's very adjustable. But after a while, the more you work with it, the more solid it becomes, so that you don't have to worry about it bending out of shape. And the other thing that we're going to do, it's pretty good. The other thing that we're going to do with our little mallet here, I'm going to open up that little loop a little more. There we go. I think we have a winner. So the other thing we're going to use our mallet, one of the reasons I love this is that, again, the more you work with it, the more solid it becomes. So what I'm going to do, oh, by the way, my computer does not like noise, so it's going to probably shut off the audio while I'm pounding, so I won't talk while I'm pounding. What I'm going to do is hammer this a little bit so that it gets nice and flat. It's not all popped up like that. And it will also help stiffen the wire so that it holds its shape. So let's do that. There we go. Now my two loops are together. So now I can put my jump ring through there and my ear wire through there, and they'll be perfectly fine. And when I'm hammering a little bit, sometimes the little loops open up. So I just need to close those back up. Very good. So now what I'm going to do is a little more. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now notice that the top part of this one earring, the end that's going to this side is on top, and over here the end that's going to this side is on top. And you needed a mirror image, because you don't want both of the earrings to be the exact same, because otherwise that would be backwards. You want mirror image so that your earrings match. Okay, let's get these together here. Come on. Here we go. too bad. Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do now is just wrap our beads. Just going to wrap our beads that we're going to put on, and we're going to make our own head pins. So what I did with this was make a head pin on each of them, a head pin with a knot on the end, on the bottom, and a little cap on the top. There's a little cap on the top. Let's see if you can see that. And then there's a little knot on the bottom. Okay, so what we're going to do is take 24 gauge wire. I like to give myself about 3 inches. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just give myself 5 inches. It really only takes about 2.5. I'm going to give myself 5 inches so I can do both of them. Cut that off. I'm going to take my round nose pliers and just go right to the tip here and make a small loop. So I'm just going to rotate, make a small loop, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to make 3 loops, 3 complete loops. Okay. And then I'm going to take the long end of my wire. I'm going to bend it up like so. And then I'm going to take that end and I'm going to feed it back through that opening at the bottom. Right there where that knot, where those rings are. I'm just going to feed it through there and pull it. And you can use the pliers once you get to the point where it's hard to pull. Shouldn't be, because this is 24 gauge. It's very, very malleable and soft. Pull that until I have a nice little knot. So there's the head part of my head pin. Then I'm going to string on my bead. And would you look at that? Nice little head pin. And now I'm going to make a loop. So I'm going to grab my wire with the tip of my pliers. I'm going to bend the wire back until it's at a, 90-degree angle there. And then I'm going to slide my pliers under along the wire and my wire along the pliers until I have enough space for a loop. It doesn't have to be a huge loop. So I'm just going to go about 1/3 of the way down. And then I'm going to wrap my wire over the top of my pliers and stop. I'm going to take my frame and I'm going to feed that wire down through the opening of my loop. And now I'm going to wrap my loop. I'm going to wrap my bead. I'm just going to wrap that around until I get to the top of the bead. And then I'm going to continue to wrap a nice loose wrap until I have a little cap on the top of my bead. Like so. So my cap kind of matches my knot at the bottom. And I'm going to cut it off. Just cut it nice and close. And I like the flat end of my pliers to be against the wire that I'm cutting so that I can get it as close as I can. And then push down that end nice and softly, because I want it to just lay just underneath the other wires so that I don't disband my little or disturb my little cap. So there we go. I've got my dangle. And now I'm getting ready to make the one that it's going to be the exact same way that I did this one, as I'm going to make that one. But first, we're going to make some jump rings. So I need to take some 20 gauge wire because, and the reason I'm doing jump rings, you don't have to, but I wanted my little dangle to come down here to the part that kind of slopes out to the side. That's my personal preference. It does not have to be yours, but I'm going to do the same thing with this one that I did with this one. So what I'm going to do is make 3 jump rings, 1, 2, 3, and then attach the bottom one to my other bead. So in order to make my jump rings, I'm just going to cut off about 1.5 inches of wire. It only takes about 1/2 inch or so of wire to make each of your jump rings. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off. Actually, well, I'm just going to use the spool, and that way I don't have to worry about wasting anything. So I'm going to go down about halfway down my pliers, because that's about the size of my other jump rings. I want them to be compatible. And I'm going to make sure the tip of my wire is not sticking out of the back. And I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to take a look, see if it looks about the same size as the one I already made. Pretty close. Very good. And I'm going to continue until I have 3 jump rings. So I'm going to make 3 complete rings. Three times around. There's the tip. I've got 1, 2. Let's make 1 more. There's the tip again, and I'm going to keep going just past the tip of my wire. And now I'm going to cut. I like to cut mine one at a time. Let's make sure everything's nice and even. Yeah. I'm going to cut that off. Again, I'm going to use the flat part of my pliers against the tip of my wire. Cut it as close as I can get. Here's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. So I have 3 nice little jump rings here. Let's open those up. The proper way to open your jump ring, this one's not flush here. Let's get that nice and neat. A little bit of debris. Let's get that off of there. Oops, come back. Okay. Now the proper way to open your jump ring is to, you can take your pliers and put one of your pliers on one side of your jump ring of the opening here, and then you can push down with your thumb to open it, or you can take one pair of pliers, put it on one side of the opening, which is right here, take another pair of pliers, put it on the other side of the opening, and twist it open. Or you can use your fingers. I can never get my fingers to work because the jump rings, unless the jump rings are large. So I just use one of those two methods. But what you do not want to do is pull the ring apart. If this is the ring, you don't want to pull it apart like that. You want to open it like that and then push it back down so that it holds its form. If you pull it apart like that, then it gets all distorted. I'm using my fingers to demonstrate what the ring's supposed to look like. Okay, so anyway, so there are my 3 jump rings. Where's my, oh, there it is, right? So I'm going to take my 3 jump rings and put them together. Actually, I'm going to take this one and go ahead and attach it to my 2 rings. Now remember, these are 2 rings. So I want to attach them together. This is the trickiest part of this whole program, and it's not even tricky, but I need to get this through both of my little rings at the top. Okay, get in there. And close them up. Like I said, this is the trickiest part because there's a lot of moving parts. Okay, close my ring. Yeah. Easy peasy, George and Weezy. Very nice. And then I'm going to add a second one. Let's see, now I've got that nicely contained. Add my second ring to the first ring. And close it up. Oh, it does not want to cooperate. Get on there. Close it. Okay, and then the third ring is going to attach to this ring and my other bead. So before I attach that, let's wrap our other bead. Do I have enough left here? Yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more. So in order to wrap that, I need about, I think, 3. So that it'll be, I did 5, 2 1/4. That's probably enough, but I don't like to take chances. So I'm going to give myself about 3 inches of wire. And if I have to cut some off, so be it. No biggie. All right. So first I'm going to make my little knot for the bottom. Again, I'm going to grab my wire just beyond the tip of my pliers. Make sure nothing's sticking out the back here, no wire sticking out the back. And I'm going to make a loop. Then I'm going to make a second loop. And then I'm going to make a third loop, just like I did the first one. You can also stop at 2 loops, or you can make 4 loops. It just depends on how big you want your knot to be. So then I'm going to bend my wire up so that the wire is spanning the entire loop here, all 3 loops. And then I'm going to feed that tail of my wire through the loop. Feed that through and pull it through. And that makes your knot. Here we go. There's my knot. Very good. Straighten it up a little bit. Put my bead on. See how much I have left? So I can make my nice little cap. Again, grab the wire with the tip of my pliers, bend it back to a 90-degree angle, slide my pliers under about a third. My loop is going to be starting around a third of the way down my pliers because that's the same place I did the other one. Bring my wire across my pliers and down the side. And now I'm getting ready to put it on my jump ring, but I can wrap this because my jump ring is open. So I've got my loop. And now I'm going to wrap. Now, I think I showed you before how to wrap it with the pliers inside the loop. You can also wrap it with the pliers on the side of the loop. So I gave it 2 wraps and then got to the head of my bead, just the top of my bead. And now I'm starting to make some nice little loose wraps around the top. You can see this to get my cap. So there's my cap on top. Cute, huh? Okay. And then I just clip off the end of my wire. Again, I'm using the back part of the blade of my cutter so I can cut it really nice and close. Snip that off, get rid of that excess, and push down the end just underneath the rings there. And there we have it. And let's attach this to my earring. So let's see here. So I'm going to grab my bead. I'm going to hold my jump ring with my pliers, grab my bead and feed that on the jump ring. And then I'm going to put this jump ring inside the other jump ring, the second jump ring that's hanging down there. And I'm going to close it up. It's easier to close it with the square pliers. Come on, why are you giving me a hard time? Here we go. Ta-da! Would you look at that? Cute. There we go. Nice. And now for our ear wire. Okay, so for my ear wire, I again need some 20 gauge wire. It's about 2 inches. It's got a little curve in it. Okay, so I'll give myself about 2 inches of wire. Best way to make ear wires is to do them both at the same time. And that way you can make sure that they match. But can't do that on camera because otherwise I would have to make 2 earrings. Well, not necessarily, but anyway. So I'm going to make my loop, go down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, on my pliers, and I'm going to make a little loop. There we go. And then in order to make your, the part that hangs over your ear, you can use a pen, a pencil. It depends on what size you want. You can use your pliers if you want to. You can use the side of your pliers. I can't remember what I used to do this one. Okay, looks like I used the side of my pliers. So that's what I'm going to do again so that they match. So I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to place it so that the loop, the rounded part of the loop is facing up and the flat part is resting against my plier handle. And I'm going to wrap the tail of my wire around my pliers or around whatever it is you're using to make your loop, like so. And then I'm going to shape the end here. So there's my little loop, like that. And then I just use my thumb and my finger to kind of give it that little curve. This little curve. This is why I said it's good to make your ear wires at the same time so they both look the same. A little curve in there. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. And then once I've done that, I'll take my the tip of my pliers and put a little bend, just a little ledge in there. And that's what keeps it from coming out of your ear. Got a little crimp in there. Okay, there we go. And there's my ear wire. And now I just attach that. To the top. And then this one is going this way. Just open up my ear wire. And thread it into my little double rings. Other way. Thread it into the one ring and the second ring and close it back up. There we go. There's my earring. Yay! Awesome. So there's one pair of my earrings. Come on. There we go. Hang nicely. There we go. There's my earrings. Let's turn it this way. Cute. Aren't they cute? Turn them this way because the camera is showing them upside down. Ugh. Neat. Isn't that neat? Okay, there's one pair. All right, let's do these. A lot of moving parts on this one. Okay, so, sorry, that was my phone. So what we have here is a lot of possibilities. And what I did was use all of those possibilities. So what I want to show you on this one is how to do this. We're just going to wrap beads around. You can wrap them around the outside, around the inside. I just did it around the inside because all of these are around the outside and I just wanted something a little different. So I'm just going to show you how to do that real quick. So what I need to do is get some 24, 26 gauge wire. It's up to you. 24 or 26 or actually 28 would also work. Gauge wire. You just want something that's nice and thin that you can easily wrap with. And I'm going to give myself a good foot of wire because when you're wrapping, that takes up quite a bit of wire. So now this one, I wrapped on this side. So again, I want a mirror image, which means I need to wrap it on the other side. My beads, I mean, I need to put my beads on the other side. So what I'm going to do is take my wrapping wire. I'm going to give myself about an inch to hold on to. And I'm going to wrap my wire around the frame several times. In this case, I think I did 3 wraps. Yes, 1, 2, 3. And notice I'm not putting it through from the end because I find that it's easier if I wrap closer to the frame. I avoid any tangles or crimping of my wire. It doesn't get all tangled up. So I need one more. So I'm just going to pull through. And so there are my 3 wraps. See how far apart they are? I don't know if you can see that. There we go. All I need to do is take my fingernails or my pliers and push those little rings together so that they're nice and close and nice and neat. Really kind of hard to see the silver on the silver. And then I will clamp it down with my pliers so it's nice and snug. Doesn't have to be too tight right now because once you get it wrapped, it's not going to move. But I do want it to be nice and neat. There we go. So I put 5 beads on this one. I'm going to do the same thing. They can be the same colors or they don't have to be. It's entirely up to you. It's fiesta. Do what you want. Okay, but I think I will. Let's see, what have I got here? Red. Kind of a purpley color. That's not it. Oh no. Where are they? Is that what purpley color? Yes, I have tons of these guys. Okay, there we go. And actually, it's this color. And a turquoise color, kind of a teal. No. Where are you? Where? There we go. I got all of these crystals in birthstone colors. Blue. Yep. And peridot. Yes. Okay. All right. That's the only thing I'm going to do that matches. The rest of it is just going to be random. All right. So now I'm going to string on my first bead, which is the red one. String it on. Let it slide down to my frame. I'm going to bend it so that it kind of rests against the frame. And I like to bend it so that I have as little space in between the hole of the bead and the frame as possible. Hold on to the bead and pull my thread through or my wire through, wrap it around nice and tight, and push it through again or pull it through or do a combination of both. Wrap it again. Pull that through again. And would you look at that? There's my first one. Now I like to hold on to the bead because if I don't, it'll try to follow my wrapping thread through there, and I don't want that. This looks blurry. Okay. I don't want that, so I hold on to the bead. Now let's get another one. Next one is this purple color. Thread that on. Hold it in place next to the red one. Pull that wire through. Wrap it around again and again. And I want my wraps to just be next to each other. How many did I do? 3? Yes, 3 on each. 1, 1, 2, 3. Next bead. Same premise, same thing. Pull it through and wrap once, twice, 3 times. And what you can do is take your pliers, that tail out of the way. You can kind of push down on the wires to make sure they're nice and tight. Okay, got a couple more. This guy. Put that on. Hold it in place. Through and wrap once, twice, and 3 times. And last but not least, oh, there's 2 more? No, 1 more. Last but not least, hold that one in place beside the last one, or the one before it, I guess I should say. And pull my wire through once. Twice and 3 times. And there we go. Ta-da. This one goes over here. Ta-da. Nice. I like to clip it so that the end is on the inside. Let's clip it off. Okay. And let's tap that down. Okay. There we go. Let's get to the other side and clip off this tail. Okay. Push down the end again to the inside. There we go. And then you can just neaten up the wires if you need to. You can use your fingers. You can use the pliers. Up to you. And there we go. Nice and neat. And look at what I did. I wrapped them on the outside. Oh no, oh no. Well, now what? Now we just flip. Just flip it to the inside. No biggie. So now you see both. You can do it on the inside. You can do it on the outside. You can do one on the inside and one on the outside and just alternate it all the way down. It's entirely your baby. So now we're going to do the bottom. What am I missing here? Oh, I need to get these guys. I only have a couple, so let me get some of those and I shall return. Okay, next up, we're going to do our little dangles. Now, in order for me to achieve this effect, just so you know, you can do any design you want. But what I did was take 2 single ones on each side, 1 bead on the first. I have 13 rings here. So I wanted the center ring to hang longer than the others, which it already would because of the way the loop is done. It's already swooping down, so it would already be gradually longer. But I wanted to exaggerate that even more. So what I did was on the outside of the 2 furthest loops, I put 1 bead, and then the next 2 on each side, I put 2 beads. The next 2 on each side, I put 3 beads, and then in the center, I did 4 beads. So I have a nice waterfall effect, I guess you would call it. So all you need to do that is to take your little head pins, and I'm just using prefab ones. This is prefab. I'm using these prefab head pins. We did our own wrap. And I'm going to put on one bead, and I am not following a pattern because this is just going to, I don't necessarily need for it to all be the same colors because this is fiesta time. If you want, you can, I could put the same colors on the outside just so that would match. But because by the time you wear this, nobody's going to see those colors and whether or not they match. I wanted these to match, probably match these up, but the rest of it is just going to be random. I'm going to scoot these out of the way so I have them. Okay, so I think I will start with the green and then I'll put the blue on the other side. But anyway, I just want to show you how to put them on. Very easy. I put a bead on. I take my pliers. I just bend the wire back because I'm just going to do a simple loop on this to attach. Give myself just enough space for it to go through this little loop. That's about 1/3 of the way back on my pliers. Bring the wire across my pliers till it won't go any further on the side here. Then I open my pliers and turn it and bring my wire under, all the way around under my pliers until I have a loop. So now I have a loop there, and I'm going to clip it off just on the inside of my loop. And there's my loop. Very easy, just a simple loop, not a wrapped loop. So I'm going to do another single one, whatever color I want. 2 single ones on the outside. Grab my pliers, tip of my wire, bend it back a little bit, slide my wire down my pliers about 1/3 of the way, wrap my wire over the top of my pliers and down the side until it won't go any further. Then I'm going to turn my pliers and pull that wire all the way underneath until I have a loop. Cut it off. Just inside my loop. And there I have a nice loop. Here we go. So there's my second one. So I've got 2 individual ones. And then on the third one, I would put two beads. Do the same thing for my loop. Put another 2 beads. It's going to go there. And then I'm going to go to 3 beads for the next one. Oops, I only need one of these. If I can find the hole. You can start to see it taking shape here. Here's the third one. And do another 3. This one's got a little blip in it. There we go. Okay, there's that one. And then for the center, I have 4. And you can see my nice way it's gradually getting longer. And you just attach them like so. Open up my loop. And I'm going to open it to the side. I'm not going to pull it apart. I'm going to open it, slide it on the first ring, and close. Second one, open, slide it on the second ring, and close. See that? Here you go. Very easy. Now, I'm not going to finish that because hey, it's going to look like this when it's finished. And then we're going to go on to our centerpiece. And for that, I think I used 3, yeah, these 3. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with these. Just slide those on the pin. Where's the end here? Okay, got those on. Put a little bend in my wire right at the top there. Slide my wire back along the pliers about 1/3 of the way. Just enough so that it'll slide into that little loop. Bend my wire over the top of the pliers and down the side. Don't go any further. Turn my pliers and push that wire underneath the pliers until I have a loop. Here's my loop. Cut it off. Right on the inside there. Snip that off. Get rid of that little excess. There we go. Got a nice closed loop there. And I'm going to open it to the side again. Slide it. Slide the open loop, the end of the open loop, inside the closed loop. Close it up. And there we go. So then all you do is finish putting on the rest of your beads. until it looks like this. Fiesta! Yay! Very, very simple. But I wanted to show you how to do the little wrap around the side so that you can take something that's prefab and make it different. You could do just these wraps around the side. You could do it around, you could do your dangles around the bottom and then wrap the entire thing. Wrap this whole thing. You could just beat it up and have something really pretty. That's a pair of earrings number 2. Let's see if we have time to do a third one. How long have I been boring you? Let me check. Okay, I'm going to show you one more really quickly because I think this is really cute. And what it is I just wanted to show you how to do a cluster wrap around a frame like this. I mean, this really says Fiesta to me. All of these beautiful little colors. And what I used here was, what am I thinking? Seed beads. I used seed beads for this one. We use crystals for the one, we use polymer for the other. For this one, we're going to use some seed beads, and we're really going to create a cute little hoop. So we start with about I used 4 inches for this one because it's so colorful. I didn't want it to be super huge. So I used 4 inches and I ended up with, it's about an inch across. Not too big so that it looks too crazy, but just enough so that you have a nice shock of color. So I've got my 4 inches of wire. Again, I'm going to use the handle of my hammer as my mandrel. I'm going to wrap my wire around the mandrel, and I'm going to take it all the way around. All the way around. Yeah, because it ends up being just a little bit bigger than the end of the circumference of my handle here. So now I'm going to match this up or just make it the size that you want. So all I need is enough to make my little loop to accommodate my air wire. So I'm going to open it up just a little bit. So it'll be about the same size as this one. All I need is I need to bend it up a 1/2 inch on one side. This is what I'm going to use for my loop. Just bend that straight up like that. And then the other side, this one, that's good. The one that's still going around the curve, I'm going to wrap that around this stem. Now, probably the easiest way to do it is to leave it on your mandrel, but it depends on whether or not you've opened it up a little bit like I have. So I'm just going to hold the stem of my wire, and I'm going to wrap the other one around it. Just loop it around there one time. Doesn't need to be wrapped around several times. Just once is enough. I'm going to squeeze that down with my pliers so that it's nice and close. There we go. Nice little loop. And I'm going to clip that off. Where my clippers are here. So many different things out here. Clip off that end. And push down the tail so that it doesn't do any damage. You want to make sure it's nice and neat up there. There we go. You need to reshape it. Now's the time. And now what I want to do is take my hammer again. See how it's kind of popping up? I want to flatten it, so I'm not going to talk because otherwise you won't be able to hear what I'm saying. So I'm just going to hammer it a little bit. You don't have to kill it. Just give it some little taps. Flip it over to the other side, do the same thing. And what that does is strengthen my wire so that it's nice and strong and it won't lose its shape while I'm trying to work with it. Now, again, I'm going to take a nice long expansive wire, and I'm going to give myself a foot, 18 inches might be good because I'm going to be doing a lot of wrapping. So I'm going to give myself about 15, 18 inches. Probably going to end up with some left over, and if you do run out, it's an easy fix. You just continue, you just add the wire to the frame and keep on wrapping. So what I want to do is take the end of my wire, give myself about an inch to hold on to, and then wrap the long tail around that loop that I have up here. 2 or 3 times. I'm going to give it 2. That's plenty. I'm going to cut off this little tail here because I don't need it. And I like to kind of wrap that around underneath and then cut it off. Push that end down. Okay, and let's start with our first set of beads. Now each one of these little clusters has 3 beads. So I'm going to put 3 beads on, any 3 beads that you like. Three beads on there. And I'm going to hold them to the outside of my wire so that they don't shift. And then I'm going to wrap. Notice I'm not wrapping them individually like I did the other one. I'm doing it in a cluster. So I'm going to push my long tail of wire through once. And I'm doing 3 wraps. You can do 2, you can do 3, you can do 5. It's entirely up to you what look you're going to get. Is that 3? Yes. 1, 2, 3. Yes. And there's my first cluster. Let's go on to the next. What colors do I want to use? Let's go with you. Red. Now, another reason, oh, and you always want to wrap in the same direction. You don't want to do one and then go the other way. You can, but I think it looks neater if you're consistent with your wrapping. And again, when you're using this long tail of wire, I find that I have more control if instead of trying to feed this little tail through and pull the whole wire through, I start close to the frame and push the wire through so that I can control where everything's going. And I'm also holding on to my beads so that they don't roll around on the frame. Every once in a while, you can take your pliers and see how the rings are kind of far apart. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to get it so that it's not blurry. I don't know. I hope you can. Anyway, I just push it together with my fingernails or take my pliers and push the rings together so that they're nice and close and neat. And then I go on to the next set. And again, I'm using random colors. It's Cinco de Mayo, a festival. Hold my beads in place. Push my wire through. Wrap number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Nice and neat here. Let's get another set. Let's wrap it. Oops, what did I do? Oh, just got caught. The joy of long wires. Together. In. Oh, sorry about the radio silence. I'm just concentrating. I'm getting these nicely wrapped. But you can see it's just a real simple project. It's very repetitive. You just wrap them around. And you can really get creative with that. I mean, you don't have to do, is that 3? More. You don't have to do a cluster of 3. I do like an uneven number because I think it just looks better. You can do 3, you can do 5. This is a pretty small frame that I'm working with, so I didn't want to go too long on my clusters. So I want it to look kind of tight, kind of neat and tidy. Okay. So it's moving. Get back over there. Where you belong. I need one more set here. Flip this off because I don't need all of that wire. Oops, I don't want 2 orange ones. Okay, that through. Slow that off. See how much I have? I have so much left. I really only needed about a foot, and that would have been plenty instead of 18 inches. Okay. Push these together. And one more little group. I have to double up because I've run out of colors. Let's do orange, red, and orange. There we go. and wrap. Once, twice, 3 times. And once I get to the end, there we go. Once I get to the end, I'm going to wrap it around the stem, just like I did at the very beginning. Just going to wrap it around there twice. You can do it once, you can do it twice. Once is probably enough, but I like to make sure that it's not going to come all loose. Make it nice and secure. And then wrap it through the bottom here. And clip it off. And you don't have to wrap it too many times. Just enough to make sure that it's going to stay wrapped. There we go. And now all I need to do is make the loop for my ear wire. And my ear wire, if I was going to use a jump ring, I would roll the loop from front to back. But because I'm going to put the ear wire in directly, I would, let me see what I can show you what I mean. If I was going to use a jump ring, the jump ring would be going this way. But because I want to just put it directly into my ear wire, I want my loop to be going from side to side like this. So I just take my pliers, grab the tip of my wire, and make a loop. And straighten up my loop. Just right on top here. Make my ear wire like we did before. And you have an earring. Just neaten up that loop a little bit. There we go. And there's my earring. All ready to roll and party. There we go. What do you think about that? Kind of awesome. 3 pairs of fiesta earrings. Cinco de Mayo. Very nice. I wish I had done this for Mardi Gras too. I mean, it's all good. So there we are. I'm going to finish these off. There's our earrings, all ready for fiesta. Very pretty. There we have it. I don't have an earring thing to hang things on. I wish I did, so that I can demonstrate better. There are our earrings. Finish this one up later. Get the gist. Just lovely. That's it, folks. That is our show for today. See, I didn't mean to do that. I hit the wrong button again. Utterly humiliating. Anyway, those are our earrings. How do you like that? So pretty. Nice. Anyway, for anybody who celebrates Cinco de Mayo, I hope you enjoy it. I hope the day is good. I mean, it's been so pretty. Well, I'm in Georgia, so the weather's been lovely. It's been kind of weird. Keeps going back and forth. One day it's 70, the next day it's 32. It's kind of weird. I'm surprised we're not all sick as dogs. Trying to weather the weather. Oh, those are really pretty. I love those. And for anybody who likes seriously ornate, those are awesome, if I must say so myself. And these are very playful. But I did want to show you how to do the cluster wrap. These really are cute. And I didn't make them overpoweringly large. Yeah. Now, when you make your ear wires, you want to make sure you take a emery file or an emery board or something and round out those edges, because that can be very painful. I should not do this, but I'm going to, and hope I don't stab myself. Just so I can show you what these look like. Those are cute. They really are. See, they're not too big. If you can see that, there we go. They're not so large. With all of that color on them, they don't need to be too big. But if you really, really like large ones, you can do this. You can do this and make them your own. I did one pair with just the clusters around the bottom out of one color and made this little cutesy little snail-like frame. But because I was going to use all of these colors, I thought I'd be a little more discreet with the size, and I like the results. I hope this is not too long. I hope this does not scare you off, because I have a feeling this is well over an hour, but hopefully you'll get your money's worth out of it. We will be making more earrings because people keep asking for them. And if you have any suggestions on types of earrings, I would love to hear it, because I want you to be able to get a whole sphere of different types of things that you can wear. And I see a lot of different things for hoops and stuff like that. And everybody doesn't necessarily like hoops, which is why I did that one with the small little studs. So if you have any ideas of types of earrings that you would like to see a tutorial for, I can't guarantee I know how to do it. But if I do know how to do it, or if I don't know how to do it, I will learn. And I will pass that on to you. So please, please, please feel free to leave me some messages and some notes. Those of you who go to the library for the free kits, you'll be getting the components for all of the different earrings that I just showed you today. You'll be getting the this little prefab frame. You'll be getting some bicone crystals. You'll get seed beads in all different colors, and some polymer clay beads. You'll get 20 gauge wire. 24 gauge wire or 26 gauge wire in a couple of different colors so that you can do what you will and what you want with them. But you will have everything that you need to make the earrings that I've shown you here today, except for the tools, of course. You need to provide those for yourself. But anyway, I hope that you will go get the kit, and I hope that you will make the earrings. I hope that you will post them on the library Facebook page so that we can see what you've done. And I want to see you. These are done in such a way that they aren't all going to turn out the same. I want to see your individuality and your creativity. So that said, I'm going to let you go back to whatever it is that you're going to be doing for the rest of the day and not take up any more of your time. But I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll let us know what you thought. Until then, I'll see you. Now, I won't see you next time, but you will see me, and so long.